Tonight, a massive data breach exposes millions of Canadians' private health information.
Somebody had gained unauthorized access to our systems.
It's a criminal industry, and we're the targets, and it's relatively easy for them to do.
If you've ever done any type of health test at LifeLabs, your personal data and private test results might have been hacked. Plus,
it was a tough decision, but it was a decision that had to be made.
We knew it was coming, but City Council officially approved a tax hike today that targets Toronto homeowners. And 'tis the season to shop for friends and family, but do you ever wonder where those gifts are coming from? We'll have more on how you can shop more consciously this holiday season. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. If your doctor ordered some medical tests for you recently, there's a good chance you could be the latest victim of a massive data breach. LifeLabs, the country's largest provider of lab and diagnostic tests, was hacked, jeopardizing the personal information and private test results of up to 15 million Canadians. The company says it paid a ransom to retrieve that information, but as Natalie Nanowski tells us, there are still worries about what the criminals were able to access.
Proactive surveillance on our network detected that somebody had gained unauthorized access to our systems.
The head of LifeLabs is apologizing to customers tonight after hackers broke into its computer system in October, stealing personal information, including names, addresses, health card numbers, and test results for 15 million people in Ontario and BC. It paid a cyber ransom to get the data back.
We had everything secure, and then we brought in some additional experts who were experienced in negotiations with these type of cyber criminals.
LifeLabs won't say how much it paid, but it says the risks to the public are low. And experts say that's especially the case for your personal test results.
The use of an individual's health information would be unlikely right now.
The reason going through the possible health results of millions of people is too tedious.
It's easier for criminals to commoditize things like your username, password, your home address as well. So that's probably where the initial concern is going to come in, is identity theft.
That's why LifeLabs will be reaching out to everyone affected.
We actually felt that we needed to get infrastructure in place to notify our customers. So we've set up a microsite, we've set up a call center, we've worked out a package of cyber benefits that they can go and get fraud protection.
With all of your information now digitized, these types of cyber attacks are becoming more common.
It is an industry. It's a criminal industry, and we're the targets, and it's relatively easy for them to do. So we are raising our children. We're having to be educated. We're raising our children to be educated about this, and hopefully in the next generation we'll be a little bit smarter about preventing these things.
Until that happens, the best way to avoid medical and personal information from getting into the wrong hands is limit your online profiles and go in person to get your test results. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
Emotions ran high at Queen's Park today as the government announced another delay for parents waiting for autism treatment for their children.
We're transitioning to a needs-based program, but it's important to us that families receive supports during this time.
Now, the needs-based program the minister mentioned was originally promised to be up and running by April, but that's now been pushed back to 2021. As the minister made his announcement, parents of children with autism sat in the audience, some holding pictures of their kids and wiping away tears. They say the interim funding the government is promising is not enough.
It's just giving us a little bit of money to go away and stay silent until 2021. He pretty much extended this whole thing for another whole extra year. We've already been waiting for 18 months for our families, and we're in crisis. We're desperate for help from this government, and they're giving us nothing. This is garbage. This is a very sour Christmas for our families.
This government made a grave miscalculation. They think our children can be bought. They cannot be bought. $5,000 will not hold these children over.
A planned revamp of autism funding announced earlier this year had to be scrapped by the provincial government after months of public protest. And more unions are joining in on that challenge at Bill 124. That's the Ontario law that places a cap on increases to public sector wages. The unions are hoping to argue the legislation undermines the collective bargaining rights of workers.
For a conservative government that prides itself on less regulation or government getting out of the way. This law is the absolute opposite. It is a direct intrusion into the rights of both employers and unions in the public sector to negotiate binding contracts.
Now, the cap would affect people working in various streams, from education to health care. CUPE and the Ontario Federation of Labour are among the unions now in the challenge. They hope after today's announcements other unions will join the fight. Treasury Board President Peter Bethlenfalvy defended the bill just last week, saying it still allows employees to get raises for seniority, performance, or increased qualifications.
Reasonable.
And a reminder, high school teachers in 10 school boards will go ahead with a one-day strike tomorrow. That means no high school for high school students in 10 public boards, including York, Halton, and the Kawartha District School Board. There are no talks scheduled between the union and the government until next year. A mediator canceled the meeting for today, saying the two sides were just too far apart to bother. And it is official. Toronto residents will be looking at a property tax increase next year, and for every year until 2025. Today, the last council meeting of 2019, councillors officially backed Mayor Tory's proposal. Our City Hall reporter Lauren Pelly has those details.
The fact is that efficiencies alone cannot produce the amount of money that we need to fulfill our own obligations under the transit and housing agreements. That's just a fact.
And with that, Mayor John Tory made a final pitch to Council, calling for a tax hike for a special city building levy in hopes of bringing more than $6 billion into city coffers. The move comes as city officials are planning to build more affordable housing over the next decade, all while maintaining and expanding the transit network to the tune of tens of billions.
It was a tough decision, but it was a decision that had to be made.
Councillors from all sides of the political spectrum backed the plan to raise taxes year over year for the first half of the next decade. In 2020, homeowners can expect to pay, on average, $43 more to the City Building Fund. And by 2025, a typical household will be contributing $280 more on top of their regular property taxes.
When this is fully rolled out, the City of Toronto will still have pretty much the lowest property taxes anywhere in the Greater Toronto Area, possibly even Ontario. So no, this is not an onerous ask.
Homeowners have mixed feelings.
I'm okay with it. Toronto's undertaxed as way it is for property tax compared to Oakville and places like that.
I'm not happy with it as a homeowner. I really don't want to see tax rates go up, but I guess it's part of doing business in the city.
Should we be continuing to try and raise transit off a property tax base? The city should be looking for a different tax base, like income tax.
And today, the mayor did vow to find other revenue sources.
I will be relentless in making sure that the funding we have asked our residents to put forward will be matched by the provincial and federal governments.
Even with that hefty tax hike, Toronto still needs billions more to tackle its transit and housing priorities. That means those conversations with higher levels of government will be increasingly important as we go into this new decade. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Police making an arrest in connection with 4 sex assaults in Toronto and Collingwood dating back to 2015. And detectives say it was a critical detail from a victim that led them to the accused.
As we spoke to our victims, our survivors gave us information. Each one gave us points that moved us towards who we were looking at. And in one of the cases, one of the victims was able to collect a license plate.
Police arrested 34-year-old Dipesh Patel of Toronto back on November 1st after a 22-year-old woman was sexually assaulted. Police say they made the arrest after the victim was able to note the man's license plate. Now, after further investigation, police say they were able to link Patel to a 2015 attack in Toronto and a 2017 attack in Collingwood. They also allege Patel was behind an attack in July of this year in which a woman was sexually assaulted after getting into what she thought was a rideshare vehicle. Patel is facing numerous sex assault and assault with a weapon charges. Carla Kennedy's here with a first look at the forecast. You're tracking some snow squalls tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. Our winds are going to be very strong coming in from the northwest behind the system, and then we're going to see those machines really turning on. Also, I have to tell you about the cold air that comes in along with those winds. So these are the daytime highs, and at this time tomorrow or even tomorrow afternoon, you'll be saying, oh, I wish we had numbers like that. So this is from this afternoon where we even got a little bit above freezing, one for Toronto and for Markham as well, seeing it at the freezing mark there in St. Catharines. So we had one system, that one that kind of skirted us towards the south, that was more of an impact from earlier in the day. Another, I'm going to say weaker one, but it's just mostly that it's quick moving, is pushing through. As it does, though, it is behind that system. The winds change direction. Once they go to the northwest and they start gusting 40, even exceeding 50 kilometers an hour, these squalls will certainly be setting up, but the temperature will be driven down as well. So it'll actually be milder in the morning than it's going to be tomorrow afternoon. We have all kinds of snow squall warnings that are in place, some watches, some weather travel advisories. You're going to really need to take precaution and watch out before you make any travel plans, because some of these areas will be seeing significant amounts of snow, which I'll get into a little bit later in the show. We'll see some of those flurries at times making their way into the GTA. -4, that's overnight. -8 is actually tomorrow afternoon, Mike. And hey, winter doesn't come till the weekend.
Wow, but we're getting a good sample, sneak preview tomorrow.
You could call it that, that's for sure.
Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
It's really important to know where, who, and how the garment was made, or whatever the product was made.
After the break, how you can be a more conscious consumer this holiday gift-giving season. We'll be right back. The fallout continues one day after the province abruptly canceled Hamilton's LRT project. Here in Toronto, that has many councillors worried Queen's Park may renege on public transit commitments in this city. Talia Ricci has this today.
I would say it's a very sad day for Hamilton.
But councillors here say it's not a great day in Toronto either.
Can we expect that our transit plans, whether it be the Ontario line or other projects, are going to move forward?
Quite frankly, after yesterday's actions, I'm concerned about everything but the Ontario line.
Their stance, if it can happen there, it can happen here. Yesterday's decision from the province left a chaotic and confusing scene for residents in Hamilton, starting with the press conference that never was. Transportation Minister Caroline Mulroney says the original budget for the LRT was $1 billion. But after the PCs took over, a third party carried out a cost estimate and found the price tag would actually be $5.5 billion. NDP leader Andrea Horwath wants to know why.
The bottom line is Mr. Ford's making up the numbers to justify his cuts, so show us the numbers.
show us the report and give us an apples to apples comparison with the other projects that are ongoing right now in our province.
Councillors expressed concerns about the future of the Ontario line and the Scarborough subway today.
Of course, we're worried that they're going to do the same thing to us that they just did to Hamilton, and that's take operating costs and start calculating that in to demonstrate that a project is going over budget.
We've made commitments in the City of Toronto for our expansion plan, and we'll be moving forward with those, as I said.
John Tory doesn't share his councillors' concerns.
Well, I think they've already made a very significant commitment to Toronto, and it's in an agreement that we've reached with that government, and I'm optimistic we're going to go forward and get that transit built.
Now, yesterday, Mulroney also said the province is still committing $1 billion to the City of Hamilton for transit, and they're also putting together a task force to study transportation priorities for the City of Hamilton. I also reached out to the City of Mississauga today to see if they had any concerns around the future of the Hurontario LRT, which will run along Hurontario Street in Brampton and Mississauga, and the mayor said that project is moving forward full steam ahead. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
There are just 7 shopping days until Christmas, and if you're looking for gifts that have a positive impact on people and the environment, there are plenty of businesses, many right here in Toronto, that focus on socially and environmentally sustainable products. Angelina King has more.
That land in Egypt and the people on it is being protected and supported here in Toronto.
Through subsidies and guaranteed prices.
Cotton is a Toronto-based brand that creates ethical and sustainable clothing by working with small Egyptian farmers. A part of each sale goes to build schools for children there. The company prides itself on sharing how each piece is made.
It's really important to know where, who, and how the garment was made or whatever the product was made, so that you can form an opinion on whether you want to back that product with your power, consuming power.
But with all the marketing out there, how do you know what's legitimate? Halali suggests doing some research before going out shopping, and when you are inside of the stores, take a second to look for a certification or even just read a label to know you're making informed decisions. Look for certification logos like Fair Trade, Organic, and B Corp. Cotton is one of about 3,000 companies worldwide with B Corp certification. Those businesses pass an extremely high social and environmental test that can take around a year to achieve.
You can recycle this with confidence.
Angela Wallace is a consultant who works with conscious companies, including by helping them get certified.
If it was easy, everyone would do it. It also includes pretty rigorous assessments, often on the ground or in the local place where the product is grown, where it's shipped, where it's supplied. So there is a body then, or a group of people that are double checking these claims.
She says while it's a sure way to know which products are legitimate, there are plenty of authentic companies without certifications. That's when a bit of research comes in, or stores that do it for you.
Hello.
Julie Skirving opened her eco-conscious store in Toronto 7 years ago.
All of that was pretty new. 7 years ago, people thought it was like a really weird store.
Skirving says there's been a big shift in interest since, but understands knowing where to start can be overwhelming. So she suggests your garbage can.
See what you throw out a lot and figure out what can I do like every day. I think it is more powerful than people realize.
It's one of the best ways we can make a tangible difference on some of the world's most pressing problems.
Choices that can be made any time of the year. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
A live shot of our city skyline tonight. You will want to bundle up tomorrow morning because the temperature is about to dip. Colette is back after the break with your extended forecast.
The weather update is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
The Leafs hosting Buffalo tonight. Let's pick things up in this second period. Toronto up 1-0. Morgan Riley goes cross ice for Austin Matthews. He snaps it top shelf. That's his 20th of the season. He'd pick up his 21st a few minutes later. 2 goals in the period make it 3-0 Leafs. The Sabres make it interesting in the third. Jack Eichel keeps his 17-game point streak alive, but Toronto holds on for a 5-3 win, improving to 2-1 against Buffalo this season. Colette's back with their extended forecast. I knew it was mild today, so I got in my steps today knowing tomorrow is going to be completely different.
That's a good way to do it. So do you try and get 20,000 or something today? Yeah, and then hopefully you can, take tomorrow off. You may need to. Anyway, you get some good exercise when you're stepping in snow or you've got blowing snow, and that's what we're talking about. Winds picking up as things become quite windy. We see those snow squalls ramping up, especially tomorrow through the day as the winds turn towards the northwest. So there are lots of areas with snow squall warnings. Some watch areas have been upgraded into warnings. That will start to ease up as we get overnight Wednesday towards Thursday, but there'll be areas that will be very treacherous for driving because visibility reduced so much. And Arctic air moves in along with this. So our temperatures falling through the day tomorrow, and that's right, falling into the afternoon, and then that cold air entrenched for a couple of days. So as the system moves through, the system itself doesn't pack a big punch, but the winds behind it driving across the lake and some very, very cold air at the core of this, that sets up our squalls. Into the GTA, we get some flurries. Once in a while you get kind of a burst of some snow coming through and visibility is reduced, but it tends to then push off quite quickly. That can happen for us in the GTA, but it's going to be more here in the lee of Lake Huron, up around Georgian Bay, through Barrie, through Dundalk, into the Highlands, especially as you get into the higher elevations where you may be seeing more significant amounts. And when I say more significant amounts, and by the way, things do improve into Thursday, but still some flurry activity and some cloud cover in there as well. Significant amounts, these are somewhat modest in terms of the projection. So just taking you over 10 centimeters from Mount Forest, there will be little pockets in here and in some of those higher peaks where we're talking about 20, even 25 centimeters of snow will certainly be the potential. As well, any of this snow coming down, just because the winds are going to be so strong, even when it doesn't come down from the sky, it will be blowing around, and that too poses a problem, obviously. Overnight, southwestern Ontario, this is how it looks. Now, see these readings? Your temperature is going to be kind of nearly steady at that as we go into tomorrow afternoon, so you don't really get to warm up. It's that different scenario, though, around the GTA, where they're actually -4 overnight and continue falling into the afternoon hours, mark a -9, -7 in St. Catharines. It'll begin to feel like -18. And there you go. Thursday, it's still cold at -6, and that overnight low at -13, -11 into Friday. Still a chilly day, but with some sunshine, quieter weather. And then winter arrives late Saturday night. That's why the penguin's there. Yeah. It would make more sense back over here, but that's when winter comes, and that's when the temperature starts to warm up again, Mike.
Warming up for the shortest day of the year.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Colette.
You're welcome.
Oh, I love the kids. Yeah, they're great.
Well, coming up, residents at Runnymede Healthcare Centre got treated to a special concert today. We'll tell you about a program bringing students and seniors together after the break. Well, it sure sounded like Christmas today at the Runnymede Healthcare Center. Some familiar faces entertained patients at the center with a special concert.
All of the other reindeer used to like to call their names.
Oh, it's wonderful. The kids sing beautifully, they're well behaved, and the little bigger ones sing like angels too. It's nice.
80 grade 1 students among the students from Swansea Public School taking part in the festive concert today. It's part of the center's successful intergenerational program where students make monthly visits and do different activities with the patients. The students having a very positive effect on many of them, boosting their enthusiasm and social awareness and interactions. Now, in turn, the program gives the young students an opportunity to develop a greater appreciation for seniors, becoming comfortable around people who might have some level of disability. It's a great program, actually the 4th year they've been running it there. Well, just a few minutes, the embargo will lift on reviews for the new Star Wars film at midnight tonight. Now, it's had its first public screening just yesterday, but tomorrow on Q, 2 film reviewers will weigh in on Rise of the Skywalker and just how well it purports to bring an end to that trilogy. It's probably critic-proof. I know I already have tickets, but you can listen to that tomorrow at 10 on CBC Radio 1. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.